Toast up, it's your guy Dion, and I'm back with another cybersecurity video. And today we're going to be discussing my malicious IP detector tool that I created utilizing Python. Let's get into it. So maybe around Q2 or 3 of last year, I wanted to start practicing with programming languages. And so I did my research and I was like, Python doesn't sound too complicated, but it sounds logical enough for me to pick up on it. So I decided to go down this Python rabbit hole, and I will drop some of the links to some of the courses and things that I utilize to kind of help teach myself Python. So as I was going down that rabbit hole, I got to a certain point where I was like, I need to utilize what I'm learning so I know that I'm actually learning it. So I was like, what kind of tool can I make that will be beneficial to what I'm doing now? And that's how I kind of brainstormed me making the malicious IP detector, where an analyst runs the script and the tool asks the analyst to input an IP. They put it in. And once they put it in, it pulls like an API from VirusTotal and Abuse IP DB, and it shoots out the output of if this IP came back malicious or not. Backtrack a little bit. So some of you may be wondering, well, what is an API? It's a application programming interface, and basically it allows two softwares to communicate with each other. So in the case of my tool, it's pulling APIs from VirusTotal and Abuse IPDB. So in hindsight, it's allowing the analyst to basically query IP searches from those two tools without physically being on the website. So in order to successfully run my tool, you will need your own API keys from VirusTotal and Abuse IPDB. And in order to get those, you'll just have to set up an account on both of those websites. But it's fairly simple, and there's plenty of documentation out there. And of course, I will drop those links in the description of this video. You know, I can't leave y'all hanging. I can't gatekeep, So granted, this isn't the first Python tool that I've made. The first project that I did was a Bitcoin investment like calculator. So the user would input the current price of Bitcoin, how much Bitcoin they owned currently, and it would calculate that and tell you how much your investment was worth. So that was the first project I did. But this project got me into a whole nother zone because everybody knows that I work in cybersecurity. So why not create something that could be open source, you know, and I pray that y'all use it responsibly, but that's open source and they can help you on your day to day, especially if you're in like a analyst role or DFIR. You know, I feel like this could be a useful tool, and I've been getting plenty of great feedback from it. So again, this video was long overdue. So without further ado, let's take a look at my tool. All right, so I'm gonna show you guys version 1 and version 2, because technically it's two versions out, and hopefully this will help me brainstorm how I want to attack version 3, because I do plan on doing a version 3. So version 1 was initially just outputs from Abuse IPDB, because that's one of my favorite tools to use on a day-to-day when doing research on IPs, just to see, um, you know, the history of the IP. What is, if it is malicious, what is it typically reported on? If you're not familiar with Python, these hashtags here, these are what you would consider comments. Engineers would put these comments in their script just to help an outsider understand what is taking place in their script. So here we start with the imports. Of course, you got to do the imports. And really, this is all a part of the documentation from Abuse IB DB, as you see here, right here. Import request, import JSON. This is where you pull in the URL, query string, max age and days. So literally strictly from, and this is what the output is basically gonna give you. But let's get back to the fun part. So this is strictly from the documentation. Lines 10, I have a comment in here. So this is basically the beginning of my script. So I want my script to ask the user for the IP in question and remove white space from the string. So in order to do that, we have these variables here. The first variable being IP in question. And this is what in Python we consider a snake case variable because it has the underscores. It looks like a snake, boom. And so wherever this variable is, it's going to equal input. I guess you would consider this function an input function or input action where is going to ask the user what is the IP in question. And then this dot strip with these two parentheses, that's removing the white space from their answer. And this next variable is allowed underscore characters. So this is what the users will be allowed to input. If they don't input any of this, what I want to happen is I want if the user doesn't put any of these characters in, it's going to shoot back an error message to the individual. So looking at line 14, we have another comment in here, and it says convert the string to a float using float parentheses and verify IP is in valid format, which this is the valid format for an IP, you know, well, IPv4. And again, I haven't looked at this script probably since Q3 of last year. So this is bringing back very nostalgic memories. In line 15, we're going to do a conditional statement, basically, kind of like conditional access is if this, then that. In Python, this is called a conditional statement. And so we're basically going to do the float. So float is another version of an integer, which if you know from math, integers are numbers, whole numbers. It could be positive or negative. In terms of coding, it's the same, but integers, which is abbreviated int in Python code, you can't do decimals with those. So in order for somebody to put an IP in, it would have to be what we consider a float number. And with floats, you can put decimals. So it's going to be float, the variable IP underscore in underscore question, which is, what the user inputs. So it's allowing them to put decimals, which in turn will make the IP. If conversion is correct, check for valid IP, check for three dots. And that's all this is. Dots equal three, which is it's three dots in an IP. Then it's going to print, thanks for providing the IP, and it's going to relist the IP that the user provided. If they don't do that, or if they don't input a valid IP, then it's going to print this error of invalid IP format. Please try again. And it's also going to print enter a valid IP, and it's going to give them an example. So it's pretty self-explanatory. So then we move on to the actual API call. So here, another comment I have is we're going to define the API endpoint. It's going to pull from the URL. So this is the URL for abuse IP DB's API check straight from documentation. And the query string is going to be IP address, and you're going to have your variable in there. And then the max age in days is going to be 90. Header, you're going to accept application slash JSON. And then the key, this is where you will put your API key in, not mine. So, of course, I didn't put that in. And then, you're going to get all your output stuff here. So it's formatted output, so on and so forth. So at the end, I will show you guys this in real time. But moving on to version 2. So version 2, when did I make this? So I made this in May of 2024. And that's why I made that comment so I can remember. And I made this one at the end of May. So I was on the road with my Python. I just slacked up. I can't lie to you. But again, hopefully me doing this video sparks some more ideas for version 3, which I've had some people give me some input, some good friends of mine. Sooner than later, you guys will have version 3. But moving on to version 2. So in this version, I want to receive the user's input of a valid IP address and search the outcome via abuse IP, DB, and virus total. This will search an IP's malicious score and attributes. So again, this is straight from documentation. It's just importing the actual request and the formats. So pretty much everything from version 1, you're going to ask the user to input an IP, a valid IP. It must meet these parameters. Skimming on down, we still have the same error messages. Point blank simple. So boom, now we getting a little more in depth with how version 2 works. So here, after they input the IP, request that the user choose which tool they want to search the input IP on. And so this is where this new variable in line 27 comes in, tool underscore n underscore question, and it's going to be another input function where the user running the tool, the malicious IP detector, is going to ask them, now, which tool would you like to use for your investigation? Please select 1 for abuse IP DB or 2 for virus total. And it's going to remove the white space again. And I have another comment in here on line 29, basically just telling you what's about to happen is defining the API endpoint options for version 2 of my malicious IP detector. And so here, this is just pulling the URLs for each associated tool. So abuse IP and virus total. If the user chooses number 2, then it gets a little funky. Here it's going to do a F function and it's going to take the user to the URL for virus total. And so basically it's going to accept again the application and JSON. But here is where you will put your virus total API key, which again, for security purpose, I didn't put it in there because you got to put your own. I'm sorry. I'm going to gatekeep my API key. But anyway, if else, it's going to print error, invalid selection. Please be sure to select either 1 or 2. Exit. And then it's going to shoot the output. So let me put my API keys in and we're going to run these tools. So let's run this bad boy. So I'm running it. This is version 2. So what is the IP in question? And I've already pulled some malicious IPs that I had from testing. Boom. Thanks for providing the IP. Now, which tool would you like to use for your investigation? So we're going to choose 1 for abuse IP. Boom. Simple. So the confidence score is 0. It's not much to go off of. Total report is 0. Simple as done. So press enter when done. We're gonna hit enter. We're gonna run it again. Let me try to get. I gotta remember what IP, because I had an IP that was malicious. Gonna run it in one again. This is a new IP. Boom. Yes. This is what I want. So abuse confidence score 49. It tells you the country code, which is Japan. Da 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 da. It tells you the ISP. Boom. It tells you total number of reports, 21. So yeah. So let's run this same IP that I just ran, but let's do virus total this time, which this is what I need to do on version 3. I need to clean up the output of virus total. That's exactly what I need to do. So we're gonna hit 2. It just came back to my remembrance. You see this? Ooh. But anywho, it's basically still gonna give me the same thing that I want. Hey, I gotta clean up this output. That was the thing with virus total. It is suspicious, malicious, they're not sure. Which really, let's see what this says. Yeah, so it's showing pretty clean. So on here it's showing 0. But you still get the ISP and Japanese. It's still a Japan IP. I'm definitely gonna clean this up though. So yeah, that version 3, this will be clean. I promise you. I promise you that much. I'll show you how I look if somebody doesn't put in an accurate IP. So if someone doesn't put in an accurate IP, boom, this how you know it's working. Invalid IP, you don't see no decimals. It's gonna give you the example like, come on, my guy, give me something. Let's see. Run it. Let's see. Let's say I put number 3 in. Invalid. Please be sure to choose either one or two. So it's still not 100%, but going back through this, I realized why I took a little break. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna clean this up and give y'all version 3 here soon because I'm back and I'm better. Because any beginner analyst is not gonna want to go through here and try to eye all this down. Like me, I know what I'm looking for. So Japan, country codes right here. Let's see what else. Saying it's not malicious. What else? It's basically saying it's clean, harmless. So virus total is giving a different output than abuse IP, which you're gonna have that, But that's why I want to do a version 3 because I know that I need to clean up this output, make it more organized, and then I want to add at least one more other tool, one other detection source API to this so you can do like deductive reasoning or If 2 out of the 3 say it's malicious, 9 times out of 10 it's malicious. If 1 out of the 3 says it's malicious, then you might need to go back and look a little bit deeper because it could be where the IP used to be bad, but it changed hands. I don't want this tool to be a end all be all. In security, you don't want that in general, but I wanted something to have in my back pocket where, like, boom, let me run this script right quick. Let me see if I can come up with what's going on with this particular IP without even having to do my plan B of research. Boom. In conclusion, I hope that you found this video very helpful. I hope that if you are somebody that is a security analyst or engineer, that you can find use in this tool on your day to day. So if you can, and if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And we will continue to provide you with some of the best cybersecurity videos that I can. Until next time.